Hello everyone! It is I, Lord Kraken 3, with a video that I've been pouring a ton of research into ever since I decided to make it. So, who here's heard about COPPA lately? Yeah, me too. For those of you not in the know, after being fined $170 million by the FTC for violating said policy, and for some other things regarding their settlement, Google is making it so that things on YouTube are getting extra sanitized, what with the made for kids spiel, and the potential threat of a fine up to the 5-digit range. This is all freaking content creators on YouTube out, and for good reason, since if you go the made for kids route, you'll lose several features on your videos, but if you go the opposite direction, you could potentially face that huge fine. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I think I've collected enough data on the situation to get a pretty clear understanding of it. So what I aim to do in this video is break down the situation and give you an understanding on what exactly is going on with the FTC and YouTube, as well as why this is all happening to hopefully alleviate some of your fears. It's time to look into the roots of the situation. COPPA, or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, is a law first enacted in 1998 saying that any site that collects data on its users can't collect anything from users 12 or under without parental consent. It's why pretty much every social media site out there will only let you sign up for their platforms if you're 13 or older. Because of COPPA, they have to put that age gate in place. If you're under 13 and have a, let's say, YouTube account, that basically means you're illegally using YouTube. Now, this law is actually really good considering how much of your personal information corporations and advertisers can collect if they want. It's incredibly invasive. But the law isn't the problem at the moment. What is the problem is Google and their blatant ignorance of COPPA. Most sites or platforms I know of are pretty good at dealing with 12 and unders when they pop up until they're old enough to legally own an account, except for YouTube and their parent companies Google and Alphabet. This has come back to bite them recently, and for good reason considering how many 12 and unders are running around on this platform compared to, for instance, DeviantArt or Twitter. Anyway, this past September, the FTC fined Google $170 million for illegally collecting data on minors without parents' consent. And in the face of this, they're implementing new policies in the face of the FTC's threat to go after individual content creators, which is what I'm going to be looking at for this segment, along with its effects and some other things about them. So creators on YouTube now have to check boxes in YouTube Studio saying if their content's made for kids or not, either on a video or channel level. This is going to be a thing from now on thanks to part of the settlement between Google and the FTC saying that creators on YouTube are now obligated to declare if their content is child-directed or not. If things don't look right, the decision could be overruled on a video or channel status, among other things I'll get into later. What many people are concerned about with this is what qualifies as child-directed, since that can be vague. Well, they say that a child-directed video is one that either has children as its primary audience, or if it's directed to children based on certain factors. First of all, on the latter, who are they to decide a creator's audience for them? Only creators know their audience best. YouTube even said it themselves. Second, what factors, you ask? YouTube actually provided a list for us to look at. They say that according to the FTC, factors for determining if a video is child-directed or not include A. The subject matter of a video. In most cases, whether something's explicitly for kids or not would be obvious, but there are still some gray areas that I'm concerned about, like general audience content. Videos or series that aren't necessarily adult-oriented, but not just for kids either. It makes you wonder what camp those would fall into, right? The subject matter is important, yes, but so is its context. B. Your target or actual audience being children. I don't think most creators nowadays necessarily want an audience full of 12 and unders, and who makes up their audience isn't even something they can necessarily control. For example, Project S&T's videos attract a lot of kids, but I think it's pretty obvious that her videos are for general audiences and not just for kids once you look at them. The FTC actually has acknowledged this and stated that just because some children may watch your content, that doesn't automatically make your content for kids, so that's good, I guess. C. The inclusion of child actors. So I guess off this logic, that means The Omen, Pet Sematary, and Night of the Lepus are all for kids since they all feature child actors? What about the gamer Monkeys? His daughter sometimes shows up in his videos, be it in person or just her voice, So does that mean his content is for kids despite being about JoJo, a manga series that's quite clearly not for kids? D. The inclusion of characters, celebrities, or figures appealing to kids. Off this logic, does this mean Robot Chicken, a series on Adult Swim, an adult programming block, and that has multiple celebrities and cartoon characters on it that may appeal to children, is for kids? When you consider that show's existence, it punches a lot of holes in this factor's credibility, and even more in the previous one. E. The language in the video, and if it's meant for children to understand. This is vague, but the FTC elaborates on it later, so we'll get to it then. F. The inclusion of activities that may be appealing to kids, like play acting, simple songs/games, early education, and/or song stories or poems for children. I get what they mean by this, but most creators on the site these days, that is to say YouTube, aren't trying to emulate stuff you'd see on children's shows on TV or, say, Netflix. We're not all children's entertainers. Most of us do our own thing, and we don't have children in mind when we do it, so we're not gonna think about the children when we never did in the first place. And again, what if the video's meant for general audiences, or what about its context when content like that is featured in a video? That's gonna matter. And G. Evidence showing an audience of kids is prevalent for your content. This falls apart when you consider that, like I said before, you can't control what kinds of people see your content. Plus, kids 12 and under shouldn't even have a YouTube account because of COPPA, and if they do, they're likely using a parent's account or email to do so. There isn't even an analytics option for 12 and unders on YouTube, and for good reason because of COPPA. The FTC may also consider evidence to be you directly stating your target audience in your About section, whether or not you have content prominently featuring kids shows or children, and how others view your content. So those are the factors YouTube gave us. Now let's move on to what the FTC considers factors for determining if a video is child-directed. But spoilers, it gets worse, so I hope you're seated. They're as follows. A. Appealing subject matter. That being kids' jokes or games, music, video/computer games, sports, fantasy, children's TV shows or stars, stories, cartoon characters, toys, children's arts and crafts/books, pets, and products usually bought by kids or marketed toward them. I don't think I even need to say that this is so vague and terrible that it isn't even funny. It's that ridiculous. So does this mean all music, video games, sports, stories, toys, and pets are only for kids now? That's a ridiculous generalization since there are adults and teenagers out there who like those kinds of things too. Especially toys and video games. Shocking, I know. I'd also say animation, but the FTC came out recently, in fact as I was scripting this, saying that they recognize that animation for people besides kids is out there, so that's a step in the right direction. B. Language that children can understand, like colorful phrases, slang, and pop culture references. This is really vague, especially the colorful phrases bit, and the slang/pop culture reference bit is ridiculous. Can we not reference any trends from past decades anymore, or anything in fiction, because all that's for kids? Even ironically and with context? Ugh. Oh, but here comes the fun part. They also describe words such as cool, games, fun, duh, and whatever as words for a kid's site.
What? What are you talking about?
As far as I'm aware, teenagers and adults use those words I just said just as much as kids do, so I'm pretty sure those don't qualify as words for kids' sites only. C. Appealing visual content like bright colors, cartoon characters, and bombastic graphics. Not all content like that is meant for kids, especially not if it's animated. Example, panty and stocking with garter belt. It has bright, vibrant colors, cartoonish character designs, and bombastic effects, but when you look into it, you'll see that it is explicitly not for kids. Other examples include Kill la Kill, JoJo Again, Real Story of Devil, and South Park. Then again, the FTC has said lately that just because your videos have bright colors, it doesn't automatically make them for kids, so cool. D. The use of host characters from comics, TV, movies, or books. I'm assuming they mean characters like Dora, Bear, Mickey, and other characters that run the show on children's shows. You know, the ones that talk to the audience. Though this could encompass all main characters in fiction, knowing how vague it is. If so, then that's a very dangerous generalization. E. The age of the models portrayed on the F. The advertising and whether or not it's child-directed. As I said before, Most creators don't have children in mind when we make our videos or other things, and this extends to advertisements or sponsorships in videos. I don't think I've ever seen anyone trying to sell a VPN subscription or raid Shadow Legends to minors and minors only. So if there is advertising like that, it's probably coming from outside of the video, like on an ad that plays before, during, or after the video. And no, we can't control what ads run on our content either. That's for advertisers and YouTube alike to do. And finally, G, appealing audio content like childlike SFX, cartoon voices, or simple/popular songs. Once again, context is going to matter. What if those elements are being used to set the mood for a scene or add humor? Consider that because, again, context is very important. Plus, what do they mean by cartoon voices? That's kind of vague. Does that mean we can't use the song Other Friends in our videos anymore without it being marked as for kids? Uh-oh, the FTC just triggered the Legion of Steven Universe fans. And that's all the factors. As you can see, they're either vague, ridiculous, generalizing, not a controllable factor on the content creator's end, and or not taking context into account. It fails to understand the current climate of the internet and needs work, because if it's applied as it is now, then pretty much everything would be for kids under those definitions. Nothing would be safe, and it would even make things worse since a lot of content would be incorrectly labeled as for kids by the FTC's own standards. But enough about how bad these factors are. Let's talk about the effects which occur, or can occur, if you set your videos or channel one way or another. So, your channel or one or more of your videos is set for kids. What does it lose? Lots of things, and none of them are good. You lose the channel branding watermark and playback in the mini player, which is kinda strange, but here come the big ones. You lose personal ads, donations, super chat stickers, and memberships, effectively keeping you from making any money off YouTube as a kids channel. An interaction with your fans? Forget about it, because you'll also lose comments, cards, end screens, live chat notifications, saving the playlist, stories, and the community tab. Some people also say your videos can't be searched for, suggested, or recommended either, but there's no primary source on that I know of, and YouTube didn't include it in their list, so I dismissed that claim. But what we do know we lose is scary. Killing engagement like that can be demoralizing since lots of creators love to interact with their fans and audience, and there are good kids channels out there. I get that this is trying to prevent pedophiles from getting the kids like the policies put in place earlier this year that shut down comments on videos with kids, but it's very counterproductive and just ends up with no winners. And the financial castration and loss of donations, super chats, and memberships? Maybe it's because they don't want kids using their parents' credit cards to spend giving money to some internet figure, which seems understandable on the surface until you consider that this gates people with their own money to give content creators out of doing so. Plus, I don't think most kids would be interested in doing that anyway. So, it's another unnecessary restriction that ends with nobody winning, which can be said with this entire made-for-kids spiel. On the other hand, what if you set your channel as not for kids? Well, what everyone's concerned about is the looming threat of a fine up to $42,530 per video if the FTC disagrees with how you set your channel or video or videos. They or YouTube can even overturn your decisions if they decide you're wrong about your audience, to which I say back up, you don't know our target audience is. This isn't even going over how YouTube said they trusted creators to set their audience appropriately, only to go behind their backs and use machine learning to designate videos as made for kids or not, because machine learning did us so well in the past for other issues, right? It's not like machine learning caused a bunch of other problems on the platform in the past, except it totally has! It pushed those manufactured creepy kids videos like Spider-Man and Elsa and Finger Family and Bad Baby, because so many little kids were left by irresponsible parents to be babysat by YouTube and didn't know how to turn off autoplay, causing those videos to get a ton of views and arguably getting us into this mess in the first place. It also demonetized videos that talked about LGBT topics, leading to multiple LGBT creators suing YouTube, which I'm absolutely in support of. So yeah, machine learning needs to be retired. Don't settle for when a machine does a job that a person should be doing instead. Now that I went over all the details on the situation, I want to discuss some other thoughts I had concerning all of this, and some important points I think should be made and brought up. The biggest point I want to make is that content creators on YouTube like me aren't trying to get their hands on the data of kids, or anyone for that matter. Most, if not all, content creators can't even collect data from people who watch their videos, and are probably not even interested in doing so either. I know I'm not. I'm a 19-year-old in college who has bigger fish to fry. What am I going to do with that data anyway? The microscopic minority of content creators that do try to collect data on kids watching their videos or try similar means to an end are rightfully shunned for it. As it stands, content creators, or more specifically our videos, are just a medium for YouTube and advertisers to collect user data through. They're the ones who want the data, and they don't even share it with us. And YouTube is trying to make us out to be the villain for something they did wrong. They knowingly collected data on kids, not us. There's no reason we should have to pay for what someone else did. I guess 2019's just a year of projecting immoral behavior and ideologies of one's own onto others, ain't it? But yeah, YouTube's trying to make it look like content creators are the ones collecting data on kids illegally when we aren't, can't, never were, never could, and never had any reason to. By what COPPA defines to be an operator, YouTube themselves are considered that, not content creators, since we just upload videos to this site. The YouTube staff are the ones running the site and collecting data on people. Furthermore, content creators have no way to modify or utilize cookies or collect data on YouTube, and can't describe what kind of data got collected from a child if their parent asks as a result. The term operator is meant for the people running the website, not those who are just members and content creators on it. And for those of you worried about the fine, the FTC doesn't really have a good case against most content creators anyway. Yes, they said they can sue creators, but if they fine you money you can't pay, it's going to be a waste of time and nobody wins. They want to be sure whoever they go after can actually pay their dues back, which is easy for corporations like Alphabet, Google's parent company, TikTok, or Facebook. So that probably means they're more likely to go after high-profile cases, like channels you might consider to fall under the term Elsagate, Jake Paul, or Ryan's World. And even then, even if the FTC takes you to court or wants to fine you, they have to prove that you, the content creator, have or got access to the data of kids collected through your content, which they'll have a very hard time doing since the info collected by advertisers and YouTube is never shared with content creators. So once again, it'd just be a waste of time for everyone. Now, with all this said, what solutions can I offer to the turmoil going on? I already went over how machine learning needs to come to an end, but first of all, YouTube Kids should probably be spun off into its own thing, or at least be pushed more. Doing this can allow vanilla YouTube to ease up on its family-friendly policies and possibly even discard the for/not-for-kids spiel, since the content for kids can migrate to YouTube Kids, and COPPA can deal with that there. Besides, it's not hard to tell which site is meant for kids and which one isn't. If not that, then videos should be reviewed with very careful scrutiny before they're marked one way or another. I've been saying this for a while now, but not all games, shows, films, or music are necessarily for kids, no matter their outward appearance. So I'd suggest broadening the line between what's for kids and what's not, while also elaborating on some of the more vague parts. Not all animations are Peppa Pig, not all toy reviewers are Ryan's World, and not all plush/action figure tubers are... Well, you get the idea. Something to consider is that most websites are primarily for teenagers and adults to use under accordance with COPPA, and as such the content on them is going to be geared toward that kind of demographic, if not general audiences. As YouTube themselves said, content creators know their audience best, so only they should be able to decide who their content is for and go about their career accordingly. Furthermore, I think online ads meant for kids should only be on sites meant for kids in the first place. But all other kinds of advertisements are fair game to play on YouTube or other sites not explicitly for kids. Of course, I know restricting kids' ads to kids' websites probably won't stop YouTube from collecting data on minors. So first of all, if YouTube or advertisers associated with them do collect data on kids, discard it on the spot. It's what got them into this mess in the first place. Second, YouTube should follow the morals of other websites that actually comply with COPPA and take a no-nonsense approach to 12 and unders on their platform. I'm saying if they find a user that's 12 or under, kick them off ASAP and keep them off until they're old enough to legally have an account. It's for their own good. That, or I like Ian Corzine's idea about an age gate.
To require that people who watch YouTube videos must be signed in and they must verify that they are older than 13 years of age. YouTube didn't do this and as a result hung us creators out to dry.
I also suggest finding a way to make parents actually parent their kid or kids instead of just letting them be babysat by YouTube so that crap like this can't happen again. We're not the ones who should think of the children. The parents are the one who should think about their children. So it's time we made them take more responsibility for their kids. How? I'm not quite sure, but we'll figure something out. Here's another big one. Note that when YouTube put these 4Kids policies into place, they only gave us 2 options to categorize our videos under. 4Kids or not for kids. They only address those 2 categories of video. There's no general audience option, despite there being a massive amount of content that could be considered general audience on YouTube, meaning content both for kids and older audiences. Examples include Dashy Games, Project S&T, Dude Perfect, Mr. Beast, J-Wits, Candy Eevee, and so many more. The FTC even says in their facts and questions on COPPA that there's a general audience exception to COPPA, meaning that if you make general audience content and your primary audience is not kids under 13, you are in no danger of being sued or having to comply with COPPA, and you shouldn't be, nor should you lose all the features I went over before. Basically, they say that COPPA is, and I quote, not triggered by an adult uploading photos of children on a general audience site or in the non-child directed portion of a general audience website. So they recognize that there was a middle ground, but YouTube didn't when they implemented their new policies. Don't believe me? The mixed audience exception in the COPPA laws in Title 16, Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, Section 312.2. We need a general audience option is what I'm saying. And as a small side note, I know some of you are concerned about channels that aren't commercially viable being deleted by YouTube, but they've said that the policy isn't about content creators, but features which they've decided are outdated or rarely used. So sleep well tonight if you're a non-profit channel. This means your account isn't at risk of deletion. Lastly, the FTC knows very little about YouTube, but they want to learn more before these policies are implemented. So what can you do for that? Well, they're accepting feedback on their propositions for COPPA and YouTube until December 9th. So if you want to make your voice heard, you can leave some feedback there, but remember to make it civil and legible. Basically, don't be an ass and make sure they'll be able to read your comment. Every voice matters in a time like this. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I've included some videos and links I've used in my research for this video in the description, so if you have the time after all this, I suggest you check them out to see what I used for my research. Hopefully everything I've said here can be put into consideration by YouTube and the FTC alike, because YouTube is a passion for a lot of people we don't want to see destroyed. The pushback against the FTC and YouTube's actions as of late is proof of that. This has been Lord Kraken 3. Thank you for watching, and have a good day, or night, depending on what time you're watching this.